It is here. We are ranking every single episode from season 1 to season 4 of School for Little Vampires. Girl, I was so excited, and I don't even like sports. No, not that one. But that one's also peak. Like, is it just me, or is the way he's animated in this episode specifically so top tier? Just me? Okay. Hello, everybody! I hope you have already watched part 1, because if you haven't,
why are you here? Go watch part 1. This is not gonna make sense unless you've watched that one.
Anyways, for folks who have watched part 1 and enjoyed it very much, thank you guys so much. I worked very hard on that video. It is now currently my favorite video I've ever made on my channel, which is a huge deal because I've made a lot of videos. My dog is choking in the background. So today, we shall be ranking season 3 and season 4 of School for Little Vampires, and season 4 was actually never dubbed in English, so shout out to this goated channel above here. Go subscribe to them, they are so awesome. They translated every single episode of season 4 into English with subtitles. You are a goat, okay? You are the goat. I'm very excited to talk about these seasons, particularly because I have a lot to say about them. I feel like the show is very different from the first 2 seasons to the last 2 seasons, so let's get started.
Okay, let's go.
Mandatory clarification time. I forgot about this. First of all, everything in this video is my opinion, obviously, and you're entitled to have yours. Let me know in the comments civilly why you agree or disagree with where I ranked stuff. 2, I'm actually going to be ranking things a little differently this time. I'm going to give my thoughts on the episode, but I'm not going to show you which tier I put it in until the end, because in the first video they kept getting out of order and it was confusing everybody in the comments and myself, so we're just not going to do that. Alright, just stay tuned to the end to see where I put everything. Now, having the hindsight of part 1, it's very important to note that it's going to be a very long video, as I'm sure you can already see, so definitely play this video in the background while you do something, or, you know, watch it throughout the week, whatever you gotta do, it's your screen, baby. And finally, I don't own anything in this video besides my own voice and character, otherwise, it's all to the people who created this beautiful show.
So yeah, I think that's everything. Let's go.
But I dig your fangliness. Look. Not those. I meant those. How did those get there?
Yes! We're already getting Lenny within the first few minutes of the episode. It's already peak. Though, I will say, I am sad that he's getting yelled at by Alaric. I know he's not the smartest tool in the shed, but he's my tool in the shed, god damn it! Anyways, I think we gotta discuss the elephant in the room. Not that one. Yeah, that one. There is a color palette change within the last 2 seasons, and I am personally not a fan of it. I even went as far to contact some of the artists behind the show, and even they didn't know why the color palette change happened, so yeah. And honestly, on characters like Leechy and Oscar, the change is pretty much not even there, but characters, mostly the adults, just look completely different. It's very interesting, and there's gonna be much worse examples down the road, so just get ready, alright? And my main problem with it is honestly just the fact that it takes away the cool contrast between the human characters and the vampires. In part 1 of this ranking, I explained that the humans are very saturated and pastel, and just kind of drawn more cartoony than the vampires, as the vampires obviously have a much darker tone to them. Everything's got more blacks and just darkness in general, and now they're all pastel, and it's just, you don't get that cool contrast anymore. So, although it doesn't ruin my personal experience of watching the episodes, luckily the episodes in these seasons are great enough that I can easily look past it, but I understand if some people maybe lost their appeal to the show because of this. It is very different from the first 2 seasons. But anyways, let's actually talk about episode 1. So this is a fantastic way to kick off the season because it is a Klot and Ashley centered episode, and I'm sure you already know if you watched part 1 that I love this dynamic. I find them to be so cute and brotherly, and I feel like Klot has grown up so much in this season. He's not wetting himself anymore. He's not crying for his mom anymore. My boy is growing up. He really is. And this episode is the birth of one of my vocal stems I got from the show.
Stop acting like a baba ganoush.
I'm just so glad that these guys had so much fun voicing these characters, and I honestly think that can go for the entirety of season 3's dub. You can tell everybody's just more passionate about it and actually like prioritizes delivering the lines the way they're supposed to be delivered, but I will praise the dub more in the future, so stay tuned. So what do I think of these guys? Well, I think they're really funny, and they're definitely inspired after the robbers from Home Alone, right? Yeah, I think they're funny. Every time they come on, I laugh, and I think they are really good antagonists to have. I'm glad we're finally getting some other guys that are going to reoccur other than just Pollidori, because for the first 2 seasons it's fine, but if we're doing another season, I don't really want it to just be the same thing over and over again with Pollidori. So I think it's really good to add a mix of villains, and they're not the only ones that will be introduced and reoccur, so keep that in mind. I think season 2's episode with the realtor guys was kind of like the foreshadowing of season 3, prioritizing other antagonists than just Pollidori, which again, I really do appreciate. Overall, such a fantastic start to this really fun season, and I think it's a great episode. Is it one of my favorites? Nah, probably not. I think that's a little too high, but it's definitely a really fun episode, and I love watching it whenever I get the chance, especially if you want a really funny episode.
I can do crazy freaky, scary freaky, laid back freaky.
Now, this episode is one of my favorites of season 3. So this episode is about Pollidori's brother Byron, which whenever I hear the name Byron, I just think of that greasy guy from H2O. Anyways, he is an absolute prick.
After I gave him hot milk, sang 2 lullabies, read him half a book, and rubbed his feet.
He shouldn't treat you like that.
This guy is literally the definition of the word snob. If you look it up in the dictionary, his face is going to come up first. Trust. Now, I think a big reason why he spites Pollidori so much is because he thinks that he's like a horrible vampire hunter. And listen,
Even though it's true, we don't have to say it out loud.
though I will say, at least he's doing leagues better than you. You haven't worked a day in your life, Byron. And season 3 Pollidori is easily my favorite version of him. He's just much more than a vampire hunter, and his bond with Oscar is so sweet. I love that he sees him now as a grandson when originally he wouldn't even let him enter the house because he didn't trust him, and I just think that's really cute that they had a bond. And he's also just a better grandfather to Sunshine, which is always great too. And I think a thing that makes season 3 so memorable and so peak is the fact that every episode has just such intense stakes to it. Like, for example, this episode, Oscar's pretending to be a vampire so Pollidori can be taken seriously by Byron, but what they don't know is if Pollidori were to like throw garlic at him, they think nothing would happen, but something actually would, because they don't know that he actually is a vampire pretending to be a vampire. It's crazy, and it's just so much fun. So yes, I love this episode so much, and it's literally only the 2nd episode of the season.
I mean, come on, it's just so peak.
Initially, I was going to rank this in just my favorites tier, but it actually could qualify as peak because it has a great listen to it, and it has family lore, so lore!
Can you have a look in there for me?
Why, certainly.
I can't. What is this crusty sound?
Alright, anyway, so this is the first Stoker-focused episode of season 3, and it's a really fun episode solely because Stoker gets what he deserves in this episode. Basically, he starts off the episode bragging about how he's going to be the best in hypnosis class, and he actually ends up being the worst. So I love seeing him get humbled like that. And Ashley, my goat, my man, you keep on shining, baby. He was the one that hypnotized him, so you go. The whole episode, he's struggling to try to figure out how to get his powers to work, and eventually he does hypnotize someone, but it's actually himself, which is just, again, very humbling for him. Love to see it. For some reason, he hypnotized himself to be Van Helsing, which is very interesting. And the whole episode is him essentially making a fool of himself. Which, as a certified Stoker hater, that is the best episode I could ever ask for that's focused on him. So yeah, it's just an episode where he's running around the castle acting a fool, and it's just really funny to see him get his karma finally, and it's just a fun episode. I wouldn't put it in favorites necessarily, because there's just so much better episodes, but this is definitely not a bad episode, not skippable or anything like that. It's just, out of all of them, I feel like that would be kind of silly to put that in favorites, because I do ultimately hate Stoker no matter what, even when he's getting what he deserves. So I'm adding extra points for Lenny being in this episode.
And he makes his way out of the castle. He's
Toast? Anyone? I'll alert the cow.
He's too precious. I love him so much.
Why? Oh, why? Wow!
I can't. I'm laughing at a clip that you guys haven't even seen yet. I'm sorry. I'm rewatching the episode while I talk about it, and this episode is so great. I love it. So this episode is basically a courtroom type episode. They're trying to figure out who ate all of the brownies, and they're accusing Oscar of it. And it really does feel intense because there is something at stake here, and it's the fact they could find out that he was sneaking out to see Sunshine, because no, he didn't eat the brownies, but he certainly did sneak out of the castle, and then they're gonna want to know why. So it's very intense, but what I really love about this episode is just how funny it is, and just fun in general. Like, it's just so enjoyable to watch. The animation is impeccable in this episode specifically, and I don't know what happened with the dub, but it almost looks like the show was originally in English in this episode. Like, just look at a clip. I feel like the mouths match up a little too well.
I'm not guilty. I'm innocent. The roar of a good vampire or the shriek of a thief. Your Honor, I call my first witness. Me.
Like, does that not look like the show was originally in English? I swear, like, I'm convinced they reanimated this episode or something. It's crazy. The dub, oh my god, it's so much better in season 3. I think it's about time we talk about it because this is the episode where I really started to notice it. The first 2 episodes, I already liked it a lot, but this one really solidified this season being the best season in dub terms. We really needed that because season 2 was definitely its worst, and season 3 was just amazing. Not only does it match up a little alarmingly well, but the actual voices are much better. Not always the best still, but much better performances from everyone than the previous seasons. And although I still don't like Oscar's new voice, I do think the actual voice acting of his voice is so much better. It's actually tolerable and doesn't just sound really plastic. I don't know, it was really bad. And overall, like, you could just tell everybody's more used to doing the character voices. Everyone's locked in. Klot kind of has more of a British accent like Stoker now, which is probably just because they have similar voice actors, which is probably the only criticism I can give, is that there are like 3 voice actors in season 3. Everybody just has the same 3 voices, which for some characters you can't tell at all, and others it's way too obvious. But I mean, that's not really the fault of anyone besides the budget. They had to work with what they had, and that's amazing. I really commend that. So applause to season 3 for being the best in terms of dubbing, and this episode is easily one of the best. Like, I would be able to show this to a new fan without any fear they're gonna hate the dub. I think it's genuinely the best it is, especially in this season, but also in this episode.
Of course I'm a creep. I'm a vampire.
Yeah, so this is what I was cracking up to earlier. There's this sequence where Stoker basically is retracing his version of the story, and this is how he sees everyone. Okay, just watch this.
The evacuation alarm sounded. The storm was getting worse.
Don't let me get wet. You know I hate that.
The absolute zest that was in his voice is just immaculate. I love you, Ashley. And he says it again, but even more funny.
Don't let me get wet, I said. The one thing I said.
So yeah, it's safe to say this is one of my favorite episodes of season 3, and honestly one of the best. Like I said earlier, I could easily show this to a new viewer of the show, and I think they would love it. The dubbing is so good, the story is really compelling, and of course the humor is just top tier.
My secret stash of teeth. Perfect when the afternoon munchies strike, or as a refreshingly different...
Yeah, he collects teeth. You got a problem with that? So what? This episode is so cute, and call me a snowflake, but that end part always makes me tear up for some reason. It's the part where, like, the music sounds like a lullaby, and Klot is just staring at the Truth Fairy all sweet. It does something to my heart. I don't know what it is. I am very maternal towards Klot, so maybe that's it. So, Le Plot is basically Klot loses a tooth, and of course, he's excited for the Truth Fairy to come. However, the other students don't believe that the Tooth Fairy is real.
Exactly. But who will be the Truth Fairy?
Excuse me, what the actual fuck?
And what's so fun about this episode is you as a viewer don't know what answer it is. Is the staff just playing dumb and one of them is going to dress up as the Truth Fairy, or is she actually real? I'm gonna give you a few seconds to guess if you haven't seen this episode, alright? Okay. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Well, if you guessed that the Truth Fairy is not real, you would be wrong. She's real! So yes, the Truth Fairy is real.
This is the payoff.
Stoker getting what he deserves! Overall, I love this episode. It's so special. It's one of my favorites of the show. I think it's so cute, and it has a great lesson for kids that the Tooth Fairy is real.
fruity, dry.
You stay here and keep an eye on Elvis. Elvis? Yeah, I named him Elvis.
Yes. Y'all don't even know. This episode's literally in my top 5 of episodes of the show entirely. And no, that's not an exaggeration. I actually genuinely love this episode that much because it has my favorite assortment of characters. It is absolutely so hilarious. Picking a intro sequence for this episode was so hard. So there's going to be a lot of clips throughout me talking about this episode. It's just so funny.
Understand me?
Can I say something? Can I? So Lenny's in a little bit of a pickle because the best bugs and critters that come out are during the day for his recipes. However, he can't go out during the day, so he had to settle for all these mushy, nasty creatures at night, and the kids are starting to notice it. So Leechy invents a sunsuit for him so he can collect more ingredients. Meanwhile, Bruno and Pollidori are kind of making an alliance with each other. Bruno swears on his life he saw a UFO in the forest, which, knowing Bruno, it was probably just a dog walking or something, honestly. But anyways, they go out into the same forest that Lenny is in to get his ingredients. They end up meeting with each other, and one thing leads to another. His name is now Elvis, for some reason.
Sorry, I can't really smell anything today. What with my allergies and my sinus problem.
So that's why Leechy sounds so stuffy. He has sinus problems. This line gets me every time. I just love how, like, real it feels. Like, that sounds like something somebody would actually say in real life. Anyways, so yeah, Bruno obviously is a hilarious character, and I'm so happy we're gonna see so much more of him in this season. Him and Pollidori plus Lenny just makes for, like, my favorite episode ever, and there are just so many moments in this that I can't believe are real, as usual when Bruno's involved. So yeah, Bruno is convinced that underneath that suit is an alien, and then one thing leads to another. Pollidori gets swapped out with Lenny, and he just looks like a fool.
You want to take your helmet off, Elvis? He's a bitch.
Whoa, Bruno! You can't say that! Oh yeah, the inspiration for the title of this episode is actually from
Lesbian Vampires from Outer Space.
And as that being one of my favorite Goth songs, that makes me just so happy.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Leechy, where are your manners?
Oh my god, this episode. I have so much to say, so let's not waste time and get right into it. First things first, this is one of those episodes that the entire fandom adores. It's probably in most people's peak tier, including mine. Spoiler alert, sorry. I'm not very original. I love this episode. It is so adorable, and I have so many grievances with the way that it's handled in the future. So this is Ravina, Oxblood's niece, and she is so freaking adorable. Leechy, of course, falls head over heels for her as soon as he sees her, and this episode just makes me yearn for seeing more crushes depicted in cartoons. I feel like nowadays it's like passed off as a joke or more a platonic thing than actually just showing someone being enamored like this. It's so romantic. I love it. So Stoker tries to give him love advice, which you know how that's gonna go, but I do love Stoker and Leechy as a duo, so I'm really happy to see more of them as well. And season 3 and 4 are jam-packed with these guys. Pretty much Oscar, Leechy, and Stoker are kind of like the main characters of these following seasons, which I'm not complaining, that's my favorite trio. Anyways, so the episode is all about the moral of not changing to impress somebody. Falling in love means you need them to love every side of you, the ugly, the good, the bad, and the nerdy, and it's just so adorable. In the end, he finds out that Ravina is also a nerd like him, so there's no need to pretend to be Mr. Cool for someone when she also is just like him, and it's just such a romantic episode. It's so cute. The moral is amazing for kids, and the writing of this episode is great. We see Pollidori being back in action as a vampire hunter, which is actually kind of nice. It's been a while, and just in general, I love this episode so dearly. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are those grievances you were talking about earlier? Sounds like you love the episode, and yes, I really do. It's actually my problem is the rest of the episodes of the series, because Ravina, Oxblood's niece, okay, this girl is related to one of the teachers, is nowhere to be seen ever again after this episode. Ever. We don't ever get small mentions of her, nothing. And I don't really understand why, because she's literally related to one of the teachers. I just think it's really upsetting because with other characters that showed up and then never came back, I have excuses for them. Like Buck, well, that would be going against his whole, like, political stance of not wanting to do school. And Asha, she was kind of like a token female character that was just there to serve Ashley, so I don't really mind her being gone. But with her, there's literally no reason. There's so much to Ravina's character that we never got to see. I would love to see more of her, and usually with kids shows, like within new seasons, they add at least one new character to the cast.
Let her be a part of the cast!
And the lack of girls in their class is really daunting. I tried to ignore it, but it really does make me upset. Gothetta is the only girl in their class, and if you count Lady Cryptina, then that's 2, but that's still nothing compared to all of the males in the show. So yeah, I'm sorry to get a little frustrated, but where is Ravina? Why did she leave? I'm so confused. I'm so sad. They had such a cute dynamic, and I think it would have spiced things up so much if Ravina was in the mix of the future episodes. Come on, commit to something, guys, please.
Lenny?
Yeah?
Ah! Lenny, where's my breakfast?
I'm afraid I have the night off.
But you never have a night off.
Come on, guys. See what I mean? They're always treating Lenny so bad, like he's some sort of servant. Oh wait. In part 1, I was so excited to talk about this episode because it explains why I was so interested in the ship between Stoker and Sunshine. I know it sounds a little crazy, or maybe to some of you guys it makes total sense, I don't know. But listen, I like the idea of Stoker hating Sunshine because she's this human girl that Oscar's in love with, and then him accidentally falling in love with her, because this has happened twice now, in the Moonbeam episode, and now this one. And again, I know it's because of a spell or whatever, but the first time, that wasn't even a spell. Stoker just genuinely fell in love with her. Sure, yeah, she wasn't herself, but who's to say he wouldn't fall in love with her if he knew her true self too? I don't know, it just has potential to me, okay? I'm a multi-shipper, I can't help it.
It's a special night for your favorite vampire, right?
Thanks, Oscar.
Well, don't get weird about it.
Okay, Oscar, you're one of my favorite characters, but I can even admit that you're really playing these girls right now. Like, I know this was supposed to be a platonic thing, but you know Gothetta has feelings for you, and you're gonna go take her for a ride like this after the day she's had. Come on now. He's such a player. And this episode I really love because we're able to look deeper into Gothetta's feelings for Oscar, the way she just has this intense feeling of unrequited love, and Oscar's not really making it feel better. Also, what was that earlier? No, go back a little more. A little more. That. Is that? No. It can't be. Is that?
Valpurg the Wicked.
How handsome. Really handsome. Like a young Johnny Depp. But taller.
Somebody talking about me?
Ah, yes, another satisfying episode where Stoker gets what he deserves. We love it. Everybody is not holding back on roasting him in this episode, and I'm so here for it.
Can we go now before Johnny Depp here wrecks the place?
Johnny Depp?
You got that right.
I was gonna say you shouldn't compare yourself to Johnny Depp, Stoker, but actually, that unfortunately might become really accurate as you get older. Now, I do have to get a little serious here for a moment, because unfortunately, this episode does include a harmful stereotype and even a slur in it as well. This is something that was and still unfortunately is pretty common in media, specifically for kids. I'm not sure why, and I don't see a lot of people calling it out, so I suppose I shall be the first and educate you guys. So please pause to read this wonderfully worded explanation on why this is a stereotype, where it came from, and why it's harmful. I wanted Romani people and those affected by these stereotypes and words to explain how they feel for themselves. I can't speak for anyone and the communities that are harmed by this, but as soon as I watched the episode, I just had a feeling that this is what they were depicting, and I was right. So use this as a chance to educate yourself, and I hope if I have any Romani viewers watching, they'll appreciate my acknowledgement of the issue, and I hope I handled this respectfully. But yeah, there's definitely no way to talk about this episode without acknowledging that part of it, and luckily otherwise, as far as I'm aware, the rest of the series doesn't include anything harmful or controversial like that. I think it's solely just this one incident, and it is really unfortunate, and I wonder how I would feel about the episode if they took this element away. I cannot in good faith rank this super high, so I'm definitely gonna put this in something where it could have been great, but that part of it really squandered it. Though I do love this moment here.
Well, did you find out something new and interesting?
Only that Stoker is a complete moron.
Not new, not interesting.
Guys, I'm afraid they're gone. There's nobody here to save you now. It's just you and me.
Oh my god, this is one of my favorite episodes of season 3. Okay, so there's actually something really scary about this episode, and I know none of y'all are gonna believe me. Well, actually, this is probably the right time to talk about this, because at the time of recording this is not out yet. So I'm making a series about vampires called Lady of Evergreen. Go check it out if you want. And basically, one of the episode plots is that a famous vampire painter comes to paint the yearbook photos for the students because, well, they can't be photographed, so of course they have to paint it instead. And that's pretty much exactly what happens in this episode. And I swear to God, I wrote that episode way before I ever knew about School for Little Vampires. I mean, I wrote this back in 2019, okay? That was years ago, way before I ever discovered the show. So, you probably can imagine my face. It was something like this, okay? I don't know how in the world this happened, okay? I guess, yeah, you know, when you think of a yearbook photo and then you think of vampires, it's easy to think, oh, maybe they just paint it instead. But it's the fact that they're a famous painter, and both of the episodes have a lot of hijinks in them. It's really scary. But anyways, that's why I love this episode so much, because it's basically the episode I made, but with a bunch of differences still. Basically, the main plot of this is that Oxblood does not know that he's bald now. He's only got the baldy look, but he thinks that he still has a full head of hair, because, well, vampires can't see themselves, so these portraits are often the only way that they can know how they look, and they are trying tooth and nail to make sure he doesn't find out that he lost all his hair, which ends up getting them to look like this. But hey, a piece of Leechy's hair does fall on the painting, and he thinks that it's his hair, so yay! Nobody ever finds out anything. And can we get more fan art of Leechy with this long, majestic hair, please?
Begging you like the beggiest beggar.
He's in the van. It's those criminals. They've kidnapped Ashley.
Oh no, they kidnapped Ashley. I'm sorry, that's just what it's giving. It's just hard for me as someone who literally grew up like acting and doing character impressions my entire life to imagine a world where you can't at least sound a little more concerned in these lines. Like, look at Oscar's face in the scene versus how you're delivering it. I don't know. Anyways, this episode is peak. Alright, it's an Ashley episode. We finally got another Ashley episode, and of course it's peak because it's Ashley. We get more of the robber guys, and this is actually my favorite episode with them involved.
And just to repeat, it's priceless.
I think I just found us a get-rich-quick scheme.
So basically, Stoker's being ableist towards Ashley again. He's insisting that he can't join in on any of the sports or any of their activities for that matter. So Oscar tries to hype him up and makes him do a daredevil act, which leads him to fall all the way down into the human town, ending up in an art museum where everybody appreciates his absolute beauty. And this is where we just see how fabulous Ashley is. He's embracing the fact that he's a work of art, and I love to see it. We love to see a confident man. He is just so flashy and flamboyant. I love Ashley so much. If you watched part 1, you already know how much I love him. So getting an Ashley episode this peak is just wonderful. And in the end, he does end up returning to the school.
Are you nuts? I'm not going back out there. I'm a work of art. What if something happened to me? No. I'm never leaving this castle ever again.
Like, did we just hear the same scene or what? Because this man, the only word I can use to describe him is diva. Like, that is his word. He owns that word. So I guess technically this wouldn't meet the criteria of peak necessarily, but it's definitely one of my personal favorite episodes. And the jokes in this episode are also really good. I don't know how to describe it, but this episode feels very like US Disney Channel airing friendly. Like, I don't know. Does anybody get what I'm trying to say with that? I don't know. Oh yeah, and we get a callback to a lot of background characters we saw in previous episodes in this line waiting to see Ashley and the work of art that he is, and I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was really cool. Trip down memory lane.
Lenny!
Can I say something? I really need to say something. Oh yes, this episode is definitely going in peak, and I think the fandom could once again back me up on this because, guess what? It's got another character that shows a once and never again. Yay! But hey, at least this character has an explanation for why she doesn't come back. So this is Nefertiti, but she likes to be called Neffy, and she reminds me a lot of Nephra from Monster High. She's savvy, she's popular with all the boys, even the ones that have girlfriends. Yeah, she's a brat, she's very selfish, but she is quite a treat to watch on screen. Now, out of all of the female students we were introduced to in the series, she would definitely not be my first pick on who would stay at the school, especially because she was actually kicked out of the school. Unlike a lot of these other girls who just disappeared randomly, she actually had a very good reason for leaving because, well...
So boring.
So yeah, I think she's a good one-time character, and she actually makes sense being a one-time character. Unlike Ravina, there was no reason to get rid of her. I don't know where she is. I miss you. Please come home, Ravina. Especially, it hurts even more after seeing this episode, because Leechy's sitting here having goo-goo eyes for her at first, which luckily later on he comes to and realizes that's not a good idea. But what do you mean he was simping for her at first? That just makes me sad. What about Ravina? Remember your girlfriend. Ugh.
And you, Dusty.
That's, Ashley. Easy mistake.
Whatever. If I wanted to be friends with the contents of a vacuum cleaner, I'd, be a janitor.
Yeah, if I sounded positive about her at any point talking about this, I take it all back, because what was that? You do not diss my man. You do not diss my man. And also, it's kind of sad that the way Neffy acts is how a lot of people act nowadays, especially on TikTok. It's because of the influencer craze. Everybody's so ungrateful for what they already have, and they're always wanting something better. And it's really annoying. I hope you guys watch the show and learn that you shouldn't act like this.
Why are adults needing to watch these kid shows? I don't understand.
They'll never find me here.
How could I forget? Oh, how could I forget the horrors of this episode? Okay, so Vampello is this horrifying, weird vampire jester guy. And the craziest part about him is that he's been trapped inside the walls of the castle this entire series. Not just for, this season. No, I'm talking the entire series.
Fun and games at your service.
This whole time, from season 1 to now, he's just been in the walls. If you hear a little sound in the background, maybe see a little eyeball peeking out, that was him. And if you ask me, I would not personally feel safe knowing this guy was behind my walls.
Who wants to have some fun?
And listen, I am not one to judge, and I don't usually have a fear of clowns or jesters, especially not jesters, and I tried at the very start of this to be very kind to him, have grace for him. He's a wholesome guy with wholesome intentions, right? That's what I wanted to hope, and maybe that ultimately still is what he is, but I just have this dark, dark feeling in the back of my mind. Call me too woke, I just feel like it's a little creepy, something's weird about this, but the thing that really set off alarm bells in my head was the fact that he told the kids that they can't tell the adults about him, and the adults don't know that he's in the castle. Isn't that just... That seems bad. There's the red flags everywhere. And apparently we actually get some more lore about Ashley here, casually dropped, that he has been living for at least 200 more years than the other students. So it's confirmation he is in fact older than a lot of them. It makes me wonder if he wasn't Ash, would he look a lot taller and older than the other students? So yeah, Ashley's confirmed to be the oldest student, which I kind of already thought because none of them remembered how Ashley became Ash, and Ashley just seems to be a little more wise and knowledge than everybody else. So yes, he is older than the other students, and that makes a lot of sense to me. But anyways, so he had to unfortunately be firsthand affected by Vampello back in the day 200 years ago, and for those 200 years Vampello was just hiding after Ashley convinced him to play hide and seek, and he just never went back to find him. And that's basically how they solve this mystery in this episode as well. They just tell him, hey, go play hide and seek, and they're just never ever going to talk to him again. And by the way, they got into this mess because they were forcing Oscar to go into the cave when he was scared of it. Guys, you are all horrible. Oscar did not want to do it, and then you're going to go and blame it on him? We're not doing that. So yeah, this episode, I don't know how to describe because it is a good episode. It's really fun, but I'm scared of Vampello. So I don't know where this puts this episode. I guess it's pretty peak. I mean, we get some good information from it, maybe. I don't know. Future me decide where this should go.
I'll tear you apart. If you don't keep...
Yes, I seriously did choose the clip where he's in the shower as the first clip of this episode. But to be fair, this is literally how the episode starts out. So, I mean, they just set this up for me. So yes, it's a Lenny episode. Woo! I'm sorry guys, I love Lenny way too much, but this is literally like the best Lenny episode too, because we get the lore, and we also see him sing and just be iconic and call himself handsome.
Handsome young talent. Did I mention handsome? He was handsome too.
And I mean, is he lying? Because look at him with hair! That's right, he had a full head of hair. Now this is kind of confusing because in the flashback we got of him as a human, he was already balding before he became a vampire, but now we're seeing when he got turned into a vampire, he grew his hair back. So either he just grew some new hair when he became a vampire, or that flashback wasn't visually accurate, which would probably make more sense because Bruno was also there, and I doubt Bruno was there like 100 years ago. So yeah, I definitely take season 3's lore more canon and accurate than that. But anyways, and this is easily one of my favorite episodes of the entire show, and especially season 3, but believe it or not, it's not just because Lenny's in it, even though yes, that is a big factor. I just genuinely love this episode too for all of its other things. So basically there is this rock and roll star guy, which they call it goth and roll, but it's not even close to goth music, but I'll let it slide. I get what they were doing with it. And surprisingly, Gothetta doesn't like goth music, which I know your name being something doesn't mean you automatically like it. If anything, sometimes that can make you hate it more, but still, it's just kind of shocking. Gothetta hates goth music, wow. But anyways, so they're excited for this charity event that they're hosting with the rock and roller himself, but Lenny and him have some history because bro literally stole his violin and became famous, and now he doesn't like being famous at all, which is completely fine. Fame is really hard and taxing on your mental health. However, I don't think it's fine to literally quit hours in advance before you do a charity event for children. Yeah. This guy literally stood on stage and said, I'm done with my whole career. Not just with his performance, just his whole career. Right there, few hours right before he's doing a charity event. Like, yeah, I think Lenny's right about this guy. He's quite a jerk. Though, he is really cool because he's inspired after Ozzy Osbourne, and even his turtle name is Ozzy, but I mean, it was really hard to watch this episode at the time because it was literally like a few days after Ozzy passed away. So rest in peace. It was like a weird tribute, but also sad at the same time. Anyways, this episode is just super fun, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet.
Oh, me, Vampire Daddy.
I kinda like it.
And I promise that... Klot,
Yes, Count?
have some pie.
Oh my god, season 3 stays winning. We've got another peak episode in a row because this one is about Alaric. We do not get enough Alaric focused episodes ever, so it's always a treat when we get one. Basically, this episode is about the students trying to figure out what the Count is scared of because, I mean, everybody's scared of something, right? They try everything, literally everything. I'm really sad because my first watch got a little ruined of this episode because you're supposed to watch it alongside the characters trying to figure out what he could be afraid of, making theories along the way. Maybe he's scared of this, maybe he's scared of that, and in the end we'll find out what it actually is. But unfortunately I got it spoiled for myself because I looked at his wiki page, and yeah, it's like the very first thing that they mention about him. So unfortunately I didn't have the experience I wish I could have had just blindly watching this, trying to figure out with the characters. But for those who really want to know what he's scared of, I'll play the clip, and you could skip to this timestamp if you would rather just wait until you've watched the episode yourself, because I highly recommend experiencing it that way.
A clown! Help! A clown!
I've never heard Alaric sound so loud before, so this is just a treat. So yeah, I just realized that warning was kind of silly because why would you be watching a ranking of episodes of a show without actually watching the show? But at the same time, maybe there's people who've never heard of the show and just watch this because they like my videos. I don't know. I'm sure there's some of you out there. Hi! Have you made it this far in the video? I hope you're doing well. Anyways, so yeah, this episode is really fun, and it's kind of crazy how Klot even ended up looking like that in the end. It's just full of shenanigans, and I love having an Alaric-focused episode. And it's also great because there's this. I mean, it's pretty great, isn't it?
I've never heard anything so absurd in all my life.
Oscar is right.
Might even say that our very survival depends on it. A magnificent scheme.
Wow, Oxblood, the switch up is crazy. Anyways, this episode is all about the vampires pretending to be humans, which I think is such a fun plot, and I'm honestly surprised we haven't got it sooner. especially because it's so funny seeing what the vampires see us humans as. Pollidori finally made a plan to infiltrate the castle to see once and for all if there truly are vampires living there, but to his surprise, they all seem like normal humans at first glance. They even find a way to gaslight him into believing he's a vampire, which I don't know how they pulled that off. That's wild work. It's actually kind of scary, to be honest. Anyways, in the end, the episode does revert back to how it started because Pollidori does figure out that they really were vampires and they were just duping him, which I understand it's an episodic show. I shouldn't expect them to keep stuff like this, but it would have been cool to at least play around with the idea of him thinking that there's humans at the castle just for a few more episodes. I don't know. I feel like there's just something we could do to make it a little different. But anyways, it's a really fun episode. I think it's definitely one of my favorites of this season.
Yes, geeky.
Who makes your gadgets?
Someone who looks quite like you, only older.
Ah yes, yet another zesty man that Alaric is in contact with. I think that's like his whole friend group at this point, to be honest. Anyways, this episode introduces us to the concept of a vampire hunter. What does that mean, the four of you in the back might be asking? Well, basically that means this guy hunts people who hunt vampires. So he plans to get rid of Pollidori
by dawn.
So of course, naturally, all the vampires are like, yes, let's go, we're finally getting rid of that guy. But Oscar is not feeling so keen on this idea, and why, you might be asking? Well, because if Pollidori dies, Sunshine is going to be rid of her only parental figure at the moment, and also, it's just kind of crazy the fact that he could just be dead, which is really morbid if you really think about it. As I was watching this episode, I was just kind of getting this unsettling feeling of the fact that he could low-key just be killed. I knew they weren't going to kill him, but it's the fact that he could have been if they actually took that risk. And that's just, that's really disturbing to think about, to be honest.
The story when we kiss. Give me some sugar, honey. Here it comes. Watch this.
Yes, you indeed heard that right. While Pollidori is low-key being stalked and hunted by a vampire hunter, he's just simply watching movies at the theater, which all power to you, man. And Sunshine really doesn't want to be there, which I'm guessing it's because she's embarrassed, because otherwise, in previous episodes, she loved going to the movie theater. But I understand, I mean, Pollidori is pretty loud and obnoxious, so yeah, I can't blame you for being a little embarrassed if you go to the movies with this guy. Oh yeah, and this guy claims that what he does with the hunters is he basically shoves them onto a private island and then makes them do his bidding for him, which has some really horrible implications, so I feel like that's even worse than just killing them.
There, you poor little man. Oscar, shame on you.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
So sorry you had to hear Stoker whine. I mean, it is actually fake, and they're only doing it as a ruse to hide the baby that they snuck into the castle. Yeah, this episode's a little wild. Well, actually, they didn't sneak the baby in. The baby just kind of ended up here, and now they're taking care of it, which I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't really care for baby plots that much. I don't know why, I just never really have. Other than babies being adorable, I just don't really care for them. I don't like baby characters, I don't like baby stories, I don't like those episodes where they turn into babies. I don't know, I'm not a fan of babies.
I have to babysit tonight. My grandpa...
I don't know why he's walking like this. Oh, season 3 Pollidori, you are easily the funniest and my favorite. Oh yeah, and literally right after the last episode where Sunshine went to the theater, she already wants to go to the theaters again, but this time with Oscar. I think this girl really likes going to the cinema because she also went with Oscar to the movie theater in the episode where Buck was introduced back in season 2. So yeah, this girl loves going to the theaters. I just think maybe they could have spaced out the episode a little bit more. I mean, we literally just saw her at the theater and now she's going again. So yeah, because of the baby plot, I'm just not a huge fan of the episode. The jokes in it are really funny, but that's kind of the only reason why I watch it. It's just kind of mid. Yeah, that all just happened because he put a bouncy ball inside the head of this knight. That's literally all he did. Anyways, we got a Klot and Ashley focused episode, which, as you know, I love these two. Very excited to have that. However, this episode is really sad and annoying because Klot wins this treasure. He found it fair and square. However, everybody's trying to pitch in their ideas on how he should spend his money. So, for example, Stoker wants a car, Leechy wants more inventions. It's just all very selfish of the cast, and this is a really good moral for kids and a common trope, I think, in a lot of these episodes, but it never gets any less annoying. I hate hearing all of you guys whine about why he should use his money for your thing. Like, Stoker, you're not even old enough to drive anyway, so this is kind of just dumb. But yeah, it is a really good moral for kids, and I think it's very important to teach people that, you know, if it's your thing, you should let them do what they want with their thing. But, you know, it's just, once again, kind of mid. We're in, like, the slope of season 3 where it's like, there's gonna be some gems, but there is a lot of mid. Now, it's not an episode I would skip. I do enjoy it, and a lot of the jokes in it are very funny. It's just, the plot isn't my favorite. It's nothing that makes me go like, oh my god, this is revolutionary, you know? So yeah, it's a pretty fun episode with a great moral for kids, but other than that, it's nothing too special.
Look, do you remember that promotion we ran with your breakfast cereal?
Ah, yes.
And do you remember we laughed and said nobody would ever be able to collect 1,000 tokens in 2 days?
Ah, yeah, that was a good one. What about it?
Well, somebody actually managed it.
What?
Oh, finally a really good episode. I love this one. So basically there's this daredevil goblin guy who is afraid of spiders, and as we've established before, spider fear is kind of in the same ballpark as blood fear. It's just not very common for a vampire. However, I don't really think that's a valid reason to assume that all of the daredevil tricks he's done in his life is just false, like he's just a scaredy cat. He's just specifically scared of spiders. That doesn't take away any of his accomplishments as a daredevil, but whatever, he's a laughingstock and everyone's calling him a fraud, even selling all of their tickets and merchandise of him. He's getting canceled, to put it simply. So Oscar, relating to him, also having a very uncommon fear for a vampire, tries to offer help and prove that he's not a scared devil.
It fears the daredevil was in fact a scared devil. Scared devil. See what I did there?
What am I gonna do?
Yeah, so remember how I was praising season 3 for having a much better dub? Well, unfortunately, with these last episodes from this point on, they start to get really bad again, like in season 2. Now, don't get me wrong, I've never loved Oscar's new voice, mostly because the voice acting is not really great. There were moments here and there throughout the episodes that I was like, that was a little poorly delivered, but overall, it just sounded like, you know, less of a robot than it was in season 2. However, we're going right back to it just being poor and awful delivery. I don't know if maybe they filmed these episodes first or something. I don't know what happened, but it is really disappointing and does take a little bit away from this episode. But otherwise, I love this episode. It's definitely one of the better ones of this end half.
Come out, children. We're having Draco cereal for supper.
Oh, finally, Lenny Crumbs. I feel like it's been so long since I've seen you in these past few episodes. So yeah, this episode's really fun. I love the moral of, you know, your fears don't need to hold you back and they don't define you. Just because he's scared of spiders doesn't mean he can't be a good daredevil, because I don't really know how that would correlate anyway. So yeah, really good episode.
Quick, everybody. Clean up this mess at once and nab Stoker and hide him in the dungeon.
Oh, finally somebody who sees my vision.
We need to put Stoker in timeout.
Anyways, this is actually one of my favorite episodes of the season, and I'm really glad because we had some rough ones lately. So this episode is a body swap episode, which I always love this trope. I feel like a lot of people don't, but personally, I always enjoy it. And the way that they went about it was also really fun too, because Dr. Ironfang is back, and oh my god! Why does he look like that? Ugh. The color palette change did not treat you kindly. Anyways, so Dr. Iron Fang is back, and I love how Alaric dreads his visits. Like, it is so real. We all have that one relative that we just dread seeing, or maybe not even a relative, just a person that you really don't want to be around. Either way, Alaric is so relatable. Anyways, so the reason why I love this episode so specifically is because it gives us all of these scenes of Oscar looking very smug and angry, stuff that we've never seen him look like before because, well, Stoker is with him. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention who swapped bodies. Stoker and Oscar swapped, and I think that was the best choice for this episode. Now, the only thing I don't understand is why Oscar's acting so weird while he's in Stoker's body, because the whole point is they just simply swapped. Now, Stoker is inside of Oscar's body, and Oscar is in Stoker's body, which you'd think, of course, well, Stoker is gonna use a lot of opportunities to ruin Oscar's life, which actually he helped in this episode, because Dr. Iron Fang wants to check if he's still afraid of blood, and since Stoker is now in Oscar, he can just drink as much blood as he wants. So yay, that helps. However, for Oscar's side of things, I don't know why he's acting so, like,
Bloodlusted creatures! Dr. Iron Fang's here!
I just personally find it a little weird and out of character for Oscar to be acting like this. I mean, I guess you could argue maybe it's because he's in Stoker's body, so maybe he has more temptation to act more outlandish and like a fool. However, I don't really think that's the case because when Stoker is in Oscar's body, Stoker's just acting the complete same as he always has. So I think honestly the only valid reason why they could have done this was so the episode had more stakes, because, well, Stoker drinking blood as Oscar is actually good because Dr. Iron Fang needs to think that he drinks blood now. However, if there's not that mischief from Stoker, they have to make mischief with something else. However, I think it was plenty stakes enough just them being swapped alone. I don't think we needed Oscar to be acting a fool, but what do I know? I just think it's a little weird to see him acting like this.
Dr. Iron Fang, he's back already.
No, it's dinner time.
No, I did not edit that. That's literally just in the episode. I don't know what happened. I'm hoping that was just a transition, but I'm not sure. Anyways, I love this episode. Easily one of my favorites of the season, and definitely a good pick-me-up after these mid at best episodes.
In my attempts at not showing favoritism to the boy, I've been guilty of neglecting the age-old vampire tradition of bonding between uncle and nephew.
Peak episode right off the bat. I love this episode. All right, sit down, guys. I am gonna go on a tangent with this one. I hope you're doing well, by the way. I just realized this video has been very long so far. I hope you're doing well. You good? Okay, anyways, as Alaric just beautifully described, this episode focuses on the relationship between him and Oscar, which, we were so robbed of more episodes like this. This is literally the only episode we ever see of them two together just on their own, which I think we were very much robbed, and there's a lot of missed opportunities there. Maybe because it's kind of deeper and they didn't want to, like, focus multiple episodes on it. I don't know. All I know is I'm so happy that we have this particular episode, because as you've probably noticed by now, Alaric doesn't, usually treat him like his nephew. He treats him the same as all the other students. He does have a special place in his heart and level of respect for Oscar, of course, but he kind of has to bury that deep within because as the principal, he's put in a very difficult position. Do I treat him like my nephew or a student? And do I treat him better than the rest of the students, or do I try to make them all feel equally loved? And that's a really hard position to be in. I love that they explore that for him. I would love to go even further into detail on that, but again, I know it's kind of like too deep for a kid's show, whatever, but I really love seeing Alaric try to make the effort. I'm glad that he can be aware that he isn't delivering enough love and care for Oscar, and I think he should definitely go on these hangouts with him more often.
The innkeeper has a skull on the... No, that's not it either.
It's okay, Uncle. Forget about it.
No, it's a fantastic joke.
I just adore seeing Alaric try to make an effort and just kind of go out of the bubble that we've seen him in, this serious, stern, powerful principal, and just kind of shedding those layers and showing a softer, more vulnerable side of himself. However, he does actually struggle to show that side because he didn't really even know he had it in him. He tries so hard to have this facade that he's kind of just used to it now. And what makes me really sad is that throughout this episode, I feel like Oscar doesn't really appreciate any of his attempts. He can kind of just just tell that this is a formality type thing and he just kind of wants to get it over with. I feel like Oscar doesn't really have any desire to bond with his uncle at all, which, as we've learned throughout the series, the bond with an uncle and a nephew/niece is very, very important in the vampire world. So I just think it's really sad that Oscar doesn't really seem that interested in bonding with him, which maybe I'm reading it wrong, maybe it's because of the voice acting, I'm not sure. I'll have to watch this one in German to know for sure, but from what I can tell, I do think Oscar wants to hang out with him, but it just always kind of felt like it was like, it's fine if it doesn't happen, it's fine if it does, kind of thing, you know what I mean? So yeah, and I understand from Oscar's point of view completely too, because maybe he feels a little abandoned, maybe he feels a little neglected. I mean, we don't know where the heck his parents are, we don't know how any of this happened. All we know is that the amazing papyrus delivered him to their doorstep, and then Alaric just started taking care of him. That's all we know, and I think that's why I feel so robbed, because I feel like we do need to know more, because depending on the context of what happened with Oscar's family, maybe that'll help me decide why maybe he feels a little resentful towards Alaric, but again, maybe I'm reading it wrong. I just think maybe it's also the embarrassment aspect. A lot of these kids feel very embarrassed to even bond with their family members. I adore this episode, and I highly recommend you check it out, especially if you have been avoiding the last 2 seasons for whatever reason. Shout out to this person who just recently commented on a video of mine. I absolutely loved this comment because, well, they're right, season 3 and 4 are definitely not the best compared to the first 2 seasons, but there are some gems within it that I do recommend, and this one, out of all of the ones we've mentioned today in this video, this would be the one I highly recommend the most. Wait, hold on. Holy shit, they have a Gorilla's username.
Got you, Pollidori! Well, I say, this is a tad of an embarrassment.
Another episode with Alaric in it a bunch. Woohoo! I love Alaric so much. He's so cool. He has so much aura. I mean, a little bit aura was left behind in season 1 and 2 because his outfit was just much better. But anyways, he's still so amazing. I love him, and his animation and his hair is flawless. I do feel like season 3 could have spaced out their episodes way better because, just as I mentioned with the movie theater thing, why did we need to get 2 Alaric episodes in a row? Because now it feels like those are the only times we see him, and then we just never really have an episode focused on him again. Are you trying to get what I'm saying? I hope I make sense. Anyways, this episode is a lot like the camping episode in a way, but I actually do enjoy aspects of this one much more. Now, on first watch, I actually kind of didn't like this episode. I think I was just getting tired of watching the season, to be honest, at this point. But yes, now that I've rewatched it a couple of times, I love this episode, and I definitely love it way more than the original campfire episode, which this one isn't even a camping episode. I don't know why I keep thinking it is. But anyways, this episode is really fun because Oscar is helping Pollidori and Sunshine do, vampire hunter things, and Alaric is trying to hunt him. It's a whole thing. Like, it's hard to explain unless you just watch the episode, but trust, it's a really great episode, and I'm really glad that I came around to it because that would have been another episode that I just find mid. I don't know why I didn't like it. Like I said, maybe I was just getting tired of watching the episodes. I'm not sure, but yes, this is a great episode, and I very much recommend it, especially for Alaric fans out there.
Hey, you! What are you doing in here?
Well, I was just,
Oh, you're one of the wrestlers. Actually, more like a micro-wrestler. Not that there's anything wrong with that. The promoters must be running out of ideas.
Oh yeah, the wrestling episode. Alright, well, first of all, it's a Stoker-focused episode, so how do you think I'm gonna feel? And second of all, it's a wrestling-focused episode. How do you think I'm going to feel? Well, actually, you probably don't know what I think about wrestling. I've never personally been interested in it, and that's kind of all. I don't hate it, I don't love it, I just don't care for it. So, this episode, when I was starting it up, I was like, here we go. And in the end, it's definitely not a favorite of mine. However, the jokes in this episode definitely save it a lot because, as we know, the human characters are hilarious. I just love the way that the voice actors have so much fun with these episodes, and these characters are just so interesting and funny, and I do think it's really fun how they called out the whole wrestling is kind of fake thing. I thought that was really fun and well done, and overall, it's definitely not the worst episode ever. I still watch it because it's so funny, but it's not one that I'm personally appealed to, obviously. I love how this guy in the distance just shouts the exact same thing that Klot just said. That's just, it's beautiful. So, see what I mean? The jokes do definitely save it quite a lot, and the delivery of the lines are just impeccable. But otherwise, you know, this episode's just good. It's definitely probably better for those who really like Stoker. It's just, for me personally, it has a lot of things that just don't interest me, but it's very funny, so I'll give it that.
My name's Alfredo. I'm with a carnival just in town. My parents work there.
Oh god. I've been dreading this moment. I have literally been dreading this moment since season 1, episode 1, when we first started ranking these episodes. So, please bear with me while I talk about these last 2 episodes. That's right, these are the last 2 episodes. Keep this in mind. The season finale. You'd think they would want to go all out for the season finale. Well, you're very silly for thinking that. Why would you think that? But let's start off with Alfredo. Yes, like the pasta. His name is that in German and English as well. This episode has some of the worst voice acting out of the entire series. I can't even speak. He's cursing me. Specifically from Alfredo, of course, because, well...
Mary and maybe some other nice herbs to go with dinner.
He, like, scratches his head and then he lunges towards her. I don't know what's happening, guys. I'm so scared. So, basically, this episode, Gothetta befriends this human from the carnival, as he says, and, I don't know, he slowly, like, gets green goop on him, and a lot of just, you know, cartoony stuff happens to him, and one thing leads to another. The rest of the cast think he's a zombie, and they're very scared of that because they were watching a movie about zombies, so now they're scared of zombies, and they think he's a zombie, as I said, like, 3 times, I'm sorry. I don't know. I just don't think this episode is worth a season finale episode. If this was, like, in the middle of it, whatever, you know, whatever, man. But it's the fact I was expecting to go into this being like, oh, this is gonna be an epic final episode for the season, and it's just them thinking that this human boy named Alfredo that sounds like this is a zombie. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of this episode from the minute I watched it. I've rewatched it like 4 times to try to convince myself it's better, but it never really gets better for me. So if there's anybody who likes this episode out there, please tell me what I can do to possibly enjoy this episode more, because I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of pointless. I don't get the point of this episode. And I'd say that the one after it is a little bit better, but...
Come on then. Let's hear it. Come on. Scarier.
Like, can you even believe that this is the same show that talked about racism in season 1? I can't believe this is the same show sometimes. Alright, maybe I'm being a little too harsh to this episode, but just like the last one, I've rewatched it a million times trying to find the gold in it, and I can't. I've been digging so long, I can't find the gold. I think I have a lot of valid reasons to dislike this episode, so allow me to speak on my soapbox for a moment. First of all, we're introduced to 2 new human characters. This guy has Alaric's voice, which is really important for y'all to understand, because that is a big reason why I don't like this episode. This guy is basically trying to get revenge on Alaric, but it just sounds silly because he literally sounds just like Alaric. So when they're in the same room together, they just sound like the same person because it's very evident that the voice actor is the same. So that's a big reason why this episode is just so weird to watch, because you just know that he voices him, so it's like Alaric beefing with himself. And also, they're just not really good characters. They're like if you took everything that was funny or entertaining about these robber characters that I already didn't love from the start, and just took away all of their funniness, all of their charm. They're just so dumb. I don't know, like, I just don't like them. And again, maybe I would feel differently if this was in the middle of the season, but this is the last episode, the season finale of season 3. This is the note we're ending off on. I don't like it, you know? I already wasn't a fan of how the campfire episode was the last one, but at least Moonbeam was alongside it. Now, in season 3, the season finale is just these 2 really bad episodes. But yeah, the voice acting thing is probably the worst thing. It's just so obvious that he has the same voice actor, and it's just weird.
I should have known it was you. Ah, Cult. Fancy meeting you here.
Like, I'm starting to think there was only one guy for this dub. Was there seriously? Because in this episode, I can also tell that Lenny and Oxblood's voice is also this guy's voice. So, like, does he just voice every male character in the show? Are there only 2 voice actors in the dub? That would explain a lot, actually. But anyways, so, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not a fan of this episode. I mean, at least this one has some better jokes in it, so I can give it that. But otherwise, it's just as bad as the last one, and definitely not at all what I would personally choose for the season finale. We could have at least ended it off on, I don't know, the episode with Alaric and Oscar bonding. I think that's pretty good, but no, we had to go with these 2. Alfredo and this guy. Alright, okay, it's your show. So, with that said, Season 3 has been fully discussed and ranked. Well, not ranked very properly, but don't worry, we'll get to that at the very end of this video. Anyways, this season I definitely enjoyed a lot more than some of the other fans that have expressed their, discomfort with the color change or not really liking the tone of the episodes, and honestly, those criticisms are all valid. As I was ranking these episodes, I came to realize Season 3 definitely wasn't as good as I thought it was when I first watched it, but even when I did first watch it, I had a feeling in the back of my mind that this season did feel a lot different compared to the first 2. I think it's a little more comedic and a little more kiddie than it was. They got rid of all of the edgy little stake yourself jokes and stuff like that, which I understand. It did come out, I think, a few years after the first 2. They wanted to approach, a younger audience, and maybe were told to tone it down, but that's kind of the whole charm of the first 2 seasons, at least for me personally. However, with these criticisms said, I still enjoyed Season 3 a lot more than some others, and there are some really good episodes in this season. I think the color palette change was a really bad decision. I think it scared a lot of people away from even giving the season a chance. I don't know why they did it, and I don't really enjoy it, and unfortunately, Season 4, it's gonna get even worse. Yeah, I didn't think it could get any brighter than this, so I guess we should enjoy it while it lasts. But yeah, Season 3, I think it has some standout episodes, but definitely not as many incredible episodes as the first 2 seasons, and that's okay. But maybe Season 4 will be a turning point. We shall see. They may have never seen the sun, but I was still having fun. It's so much fun just to be. Alright, now before we get into the actual individual episodes of Season 4, I wanted to add some additional context. So, Season 4 was the only season that was never dubbed in English, which I personally find to be a good decision in the end. Now, don't get me wrong, it was hard to have to just sit down and watch the episode instead of playing it in the background and having to watch the subtitles. And, it is also just nice to be able to understand everything fully. However, there was a beautiful God-sent person, as I mentioned before, that actually added subtitles for every episode, so thank you so much to them. Cannot thank them enough. I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the season as much without them. But I just think, sometimes the dub would kind of ruin my view on certain episodes, because when I started rewatching Season 1 and 2 in German, I realized a lot of the episodes I didn't like from those seasons, it was mostly because of the dub. So, yeah, from some aspects, not being dubbed is actually a good thing, but also a bad thing. So let me know what you guys think below. Do you think it should have been dubbed just that way the whole series is dubbed? Because I do think that's kind of annoying. Like, why is this the only season that was never dubbed? But yeah, so I just wanted to let you know I watched this completely in German, and that is going to affect a lot of how I feel about these episodes, because if there was an English dub, I guarantee you I probably would hate these episodes a lot more, but because I got to experience them in their original voices, like, these are their voices, their proper voices, exactly what they're saying and what the show intended for us to be watching, versus the dub where, well, you know how it's been. I've been showing you the clips. So, yeah, I'm really happy I was able to finally hear their original voices, and a lot of them are just so much better, especially Oscar's. And Lenny's voice is actually really deep in German, and I really love that.
Hör nicht auf ihn, Ashley. Du hast doch schon ganz oft gewonnen.
Ja, genau, Ashley, schon viele Male.
Ach ja, wann denn bitte?
Na ja, zum Beispiel als,
Like, isn't that just so much better? I feel like I just love everybody's voices, which the dub actors actually did a really good job replicating the original sound of their voices. Mostly Gothetta, because her voice in German is actually the same as her English voice, which is just so awesome. Like, that is just so sick. Anyways, so if I had a nickel for every time a season opened up with a Klot and Ashley focused episode, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? He's racing Stoker, Stoker's being ableist as usual, what's new? So they invent a new thing to try to help Ashley race properly, and it's just a cute little silly episode, definitely appropriate for a season opener. Also, I haven't watched it fully as of recording this, but my little sister introduced me to Fold from the new Game of Her show, because he sounds exactly like Ashley, and when I say exactly, I mean exactly. Like, just listen, okay?
We find flappers as soon as possible, before they do.
That's why I make up these heroic stories.
Oh, don't worry about me. That's me. I'm Mr. Paper.
But Ashley the Magnificent is coming.
Isn't this just bonkers, bro? Like, I mean, you could close your eyes and listen all the way through and just think it's Fold or Ashley just talking all the way through. How do they genuinely not have the same voice actor? Bruh. So yeah, I had to point that out because I haven't seen anybody else mention it just yet, and I wanted to be the first. But yeah, really good episode.
Juhu, ich hab dich, Fletcher! Oh, hallo, Arthos. Mach's gut.
His voice is so freaking cute in German. I love you, Klot. So this episode I definitely don't like as much as the first episode of the season, and to be honest, I feel like describing this episode's plot, it's gonna give you deja vu. Basically, there's these 2 vampire hunters that Pollidori hires to try to hunt the vampires. They have to hide from them. Does this sound familiar? Yeah, it sounds like every other plot of pretty much every other episode in the show already. Now, the thing that makes me upset about a lot of these episodes in season 4 is that these could have been really good episodes if they just didn't do the same thing that they've done, but in different fonts. Like, there is still so much that we don't know about the lore of the castle and the past of these characters, but instead we decide to just delve back into vampire hunter stuff. It kind of gets repetitive after a while, and I think that's the biggest problem I have with this last season, is that there actually was a lot of things that they could do. You can't use the excuse, well, they didn't have much left to do. No, there was so much left for them to do, and they missed the opportunity to. And by hunter stuff, I'm mainly talking about the fact that they reverted Pollidori just to being a vampire hunter and pretty much nothing else. I know he's been hunting the vampires since season 1, but I feel like in season 3, we gave him way more stuff to do than just be a vampire hunter, and now season 4, you're just gonna see him doing a lot of season 1 activities again. So yeah, that's disappointing. I mean, it's not a bad episode. I don't tend to skip it because it is funny and there are moments I really love, especially the moments with the vampires. It's just kind of mid, you know? It's not my favorite episode, that's for sure. Genuinely don't know what that just was.
Sekündchen, es geht gleich los.
Entschuldigung, Nestor, wir haben nachher Turnunterricht und ich wollte...
Ich bin sofort für Sie da. Ich habe leider auch nur ein paar Hände.
Now that's what I'm talking about. This is what we needed, a Lenny episode. And again, all of the Lenny episodes are so peak.
So good and tasty?
Anyways, I could listen to German Lenny speak for hours. Like, I'm not kidding. I really could. I love his voice so much in German. Oh yeah, and in German, his name is actually Nestor, which I love both of his names, so I'll call him whatever he wants, okay? Okay, let's stop sounding weird. Anyway, the episode is about Lenny being overworked, of course, because these guys hate him, but then also require him for everything. So he decides that he needs a little bit of help around here to at least get rid of some of these things that people are demanding of him. I love the concept of y'all actually realizing how much you rely on Lenny. Like, without Lenny, y'all would be nothing, okay? You wouldn't have your clothes, you wouldn't have your food, you wouldn't have nothing, okay?
No sleep 'cause of y'all! Y'all not gonna get no sleep 'cause of me!
And honestly, this episode is more relevant than ever because the moral of the story is that robots can be a tool to assist you, but they should never be the full thing that you rely on for everything. Robots don't have heart, they don't have empathy, they don't have feelings. They don't know how these students like to eat their food. They don't know how people prefer their clothes to be folded. Are you getting the point of what I'm saying? It applies to AI. AI will not be able to know and understand how you feel. No matter how much character AI you consume and how much you believe that they genuinely care about you, they've actually said that same sentence to like 5 other people in the world.
You're a liar, a cheater,
And trust me, this is coming from an experience of my own. I was also addicted to character AI in 2023, which is really embarrassing to admit, but it's something that's really important to talk about, and I feel like a lot of people just completely refuse to accept that they're addicted. It's not good, and we should not encourage it, and I've actually tried to make like 5 YouTube videos about this, but every time I ultimately scrap it because I just don't want to say the wrong thing or make anybody feel bad. That's the last thing I ever want to do, because I was at the other end of it, and I know it's hard because, you know, now I'm out of it, so it's easy for me to look back at those days and be like,
I was so dumb for ever thinking that those bots actually cared about me.
But while you're in the middle of it, it becomes like a dopamine rush. Every night you look forward to doing it. It's literally an addiction. That's what it is. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever make a fully fledged video about AI, at least not right now, but I hope you know my stance on it is that I do not find it to be useful whatsoever, and I really hate when people encourage you, especially as like a small artist or someone who wants to make music or really do anything artistically, they recommend starting with AI. That's never a good decision, ever. I don't condone that, and this episode is just so relevant to this whole topic. So yeah, I'm happy I was able to get out some of my feelings on that, and also talk about this peak episode. And of course it's peak because Lenny's in it! Woo!
Moment, wo ist er hin?
Buh. Was für eine oberclevere Idee. Wir locken Fletcher hier runter und treiben ein wenig Schabernack mit ihm, hä?
Stoker x Leechy stands rise up. I repeat, Stoker x Leechy fans rise up. Now, if you watched part 1, I hope you did, you'll know that I actually introduced this concept here a little while ago, and season 4 is jam-packed with moments of them together, so you can't really blame me. Anyways, this episode is super fun. They're basically trying to get Stoker to be scared because, well, he claims that he's big and tough and is not scared of anything, but as we've seen every once in a while in episodes, that's not true. He's actually like the biggest scaredy cat out of them all. They challenge him to stay locked in this crypt for a little while, and of course, he's not really scared of it. Oh yeah, and Bruno is in this episode. Woo! It was so interesting seeing Bruno in German for once. That was definitely a new experience, a very fun one. I do think I prefer his voice in English just because I love the bumpkin accent that he has. That definitely adds to the jokes being funny with him.
Hätte ich wissen können. Tinto haut ab, um mit dem anderen schrulligen Erfindertrottel rumzuhängen.
Sag mal, was fällt dir denn ein? Ich bin kein
Erfindertrottel!
Ach komm, Tinto, hör gar nicht auf ihn. Lasst uns nach Hause fliegen.
Oh my god, rise up once again, Leechy x Stoker fans. That's kind of hard to say, actually. But in this one, they're arguing. The girls are fighting. Basically, Stoker is saying that Leechy's inventions are bad, and therefore he's a bad inventor. But in the end, Stoker actually ends up getting caught in one of the inventions. So karma! I think this episode is great because it delves further into Leechy's insecurities and fears. Leechy wants to prove that he's a brilliant inventor to Stoker, so he goes undercover as a vampire hunter in hopes to look into the brain of Pollidori, because honestly, his inventions are amazing and very brilliant. It's just very disgusting what he uses them for. And of course, Stoker takes this as, oh my god, he's working with the enemy now. No, you dum-dum, this is all a part of Leechy's plan. He is a genius, and you won't give him credit for it.
Wo bleibt denn Ihre Kinderstube? Gehen fort!
I love this running gag throughout the show that these humans just think Oxblood's some like really creepy old man, which I mean is valid, because if he approached me making that sound, I would be a little scared too. This episode is once again really peak, and it has a lot of lore to it. Basically, Oxblood won a competition for the scariest face. He used to be able to scare people immediately, but he discovers while he's teaching the kids how to do a scary face, he completely lost it over the years, and Alaric really tries to convince him that he still can scare him, but...
Na gut, das war gelogen.
I'm going to say something that's going to change how you hear Alaric's German voice, okay? I feel like his voice sounds just like the Deep Sims voice.
Oh, what genie?
I feel like it sounds just like that. So, of course, naturally, desperate times call for very desperate measures. So they invite Oxblood's mom. That's right, his mom is still amongst us. She visits, and she treats Lenny so kindly. Like, I wish more people respected Lenny the way she did. She said that he was really cute back when she last saw him, and I totally agree. I mean, I didn't see him, but I just know he was. Why can't y'all treat him better like her? Anyways, his mom is really sweet and offers to help him get his scary face back back, and one thing leads to another. Of course he got it back. And yeah, it is pretty scary. Just trust me. I won't spoil it for folks who have not seen this episode. I definitely think you should. So yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite episodes of this season. I love Oxblood focused episodes. We don't get it very often. And I just think this episode has a good plot, a good mix of characters, and it's just really fun. So yay, peak episode from season 4.
Yeah, I think I misjudged the season way too much before hindsight, you know?
Totally unrelated note, this guy's not even from season 3 or 4, but I just wanted to say, doesn't Walpurg the Wicked look a lot like Ace from the Gorillas? My little sister pointed that out last night, and now I can't unsee it, so sorry to bring them up, and I'm about to again, cause
on Cracker Island it was born to the collective of the dawn.
Why did that actually low-key kind of match up? Anyways, so this is another Lenny focus episode! Oh my god, we are so season 2 coded with this. So much Lenny. I am eating. I'm being fed. Alright, so this episode is a very important episode because this is the episode, okay? This is the episode that finally made me realize that maybe I'm not so normal about Lenny. I always knew he was one of my favorite characters, but it was only until this moment here, this very episode, that I started to realize those feelings were more than just appreciating him as a favorite character. And I don't really have a very normal explanation as to why.
Ich habe in diesem Fall die Kinder unterrichtet und ich habe das falsche Lehrbuch benutzt.
I wonder why I love this episode so much. Anyways, what is this episode about? Well, you see, unfortunately, Lady Cryptina got into a very awful accident that caused her to not be able to teach the kids for their PE lesson. However, we can't have that because Dr. Ironfang's going to be banging at their door. So Lenny offers to stand in since he was unfortunately, accidentally, mind you, the reason why Cryptina's injured in the first place. And Lenny himself has admitted he's not very good with textbooks or teaching. However, he's really trying his best, and what I really appreciate about Lenny is that he really doesn't want to overwork the kids. Cryptina's like, we gotta do whatever it takes, even if we have to push them a little bit, and I love that he doesn't have that mindset. He really worries about their physical health, and that's just so important, and a great lesson for children. What I really appreciate is it just shows how much Lenny cares. He's such a selfless person, and he's always trying so hard to appease everybody. Nobody is appreciating how hard this man works, okay? He is working from 9 to 5, always working so hard to make sure these kids are okay, safe and fed and clothed, more than anybody else in this place, and the adults just don't really treat him like he's equal to anyone, and it's really hard to see. So I'm happy he was able to have a moment with the kids, even if it wasn't all great, and overall, I highly recommend this episode. It is so good. I just love it. It's truly one of the best Lenny episodes out there, and again, it has a very special place in my heart, because this is when I really started to appreciate Lenny. For what reason? I guess you guys will never know.
Siehst du diesen heißen Feger da?
Oswaldine, ja, so heiß ich.
Findet ihr nicht auch, dass sie aussieht wie Oscar?
Ja.
Unfassbar, du hast Oscar einen heißen Feger.
Yes, the Oscar and Drag episode. Now, you can't tell me that scene you just saw wasn't literally the Andrew and Drag song. Like, that's literally exactly what it was. Stoker thought he looked hot until he realized that it was Oscar. But does he still think he's hot? Up for debate. And Oscar x Stoker shippers, you guys are getting fed with this episode, which apparently there's a lot of you guys, especially in the Russian side of the fandom. I wonder if there's something in that Russian dub that I should check out. According to Gothetta, you can never interrupt a sleepover party as a boy. If you do, she just says a terrible fate, so maybe she's the happy mess salesman. There's this mosquito that Oscar is trying to catch, so therefore he has to dress up as a girl so he doesn't get kicked out while he tries to capture it. It's a vampire mosquito, which...
I don't even want to know what monstrosities would come of that.
Hey, du bist doch da drinnen als Mädchen verkleidet zugange.
Fletcher sagt, du bist ein heißer Feger.
Den an!
Bist du? Wir sind hier sicher.
Abscheulicher Dämon der Nacht! Komm raus, zeige dich, du vampirischer Feigling!
Ich würde ja eher auf ein wildes Tier tippen.
Auf einen Dachs?
Ich habe eigentlich mehr an einen Bären gedacht.
Oh je, ein Bär!
I'm not gonna lie to you guys, his German voice is really scary. Pollidori in German is a whole other breed of intimidating. I actually would be more scared of him if that was the voice I was hearing saying that he was going to kill me. Anyways, this episode is once again just another episode where he's trying to hunt the vampires. They're like out in the forest, which is pretty fun, and they think that there's a bunch of vampires and it's usually just wild animals and such. I don't know, it's just kind of the same thing we've heard a million times. Now, I will give this episode this. It is really funny, and yeah, actually, that's kind of it. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have much to say on this episode. It's kind of just mid.
Weil wir haben eins und ich wollte fragen, ob ich ein Handy kriegen könnte.
Nun, das stellt kein Problem dar. Ich habe da sogar eine Idee. Ich gebe dir meins. Das Monolith 2000. Sei vorsichtig damit, es war sehr teuer.
Ah yes, the phone addiction episode. Yeah, that's right. Even School for Little Vampires has an episode about phone addiction. Now, do I think it was really necessary in this show? I mean, not really. It's kind of weird seeing all of these characters have a phone, especially Alaric, but it's whatever. It is a really great episode. I really do love it. The animation is so impeccable, and the story is really important. It's about, you know, your phone not being worth everything in life. There's more important things than your phone, which unfortunately a lot, and I mean a lot of people nowadays really need this moral and need to actually listen to it.
Ihre Anwesenheit ist eine große Ehre für unsere Schule.
Von Horrificus. Bedauerlicherweise wird ein Vermoculus vermisst.
Wow. Look at that freaking awesome skeleton horse. Woo! Okay, so this episode is really hard to explain, so bear with me. Basically, Stoker and Klot befriend this little gremlin creature thing, and this decrepit, malnourished guy wants to, how do I put this? Well, I'll just say it simply. He wants to cook the creature, and obviously they don't want that to happen because that's their new pet. So, yeah, stuff happens, and luckily it doesn't end up being cooked in the end, thank God.
Ausgezeichnet, Nestor.
Die Kryptina? Professor?
Dr. Eisenzahn, der Junge ist soweit. Er verabschiedet sich nur noch von seinen Freunden.
Sie scheint das mit Verstand zu tragen.
Oh god, here comes the one that tugs on your heartstrings. Okay, here we go. First of all, I forgot to mention for some reason when I talked about episode 1, I knew there was something I wanted to talk about. It's the fact that that little cart they made in episode 1 of this season, Ashley actually uses it for the rest of the season, which is so cool. I love that they actually remembered that detail. So yeah, from now on, no one has to push Ashley around. He can just automatically move it himself, which is just so sick. But I guess now we have to talk about the elephant in the room, and it's not even really an elephant, it's the whole main plot of this episode. Klot is kicked out of the school. Don't worry, temporarily, obviously, they weren't just gonna remove him from the show. However, it does not take away from how depressing this episode is. I mean, I think Stoker crying should tell you everything you need to know. Yeah, that's right. This episode is so sad, it's got Stoker crying.
Aber ich will nicht von euch weg.
Ich will auch nicht, dass du weggehst. Ich meine, du bist mein bester kleiner Kumpel.
Und du, mein bester, staubiger Freund in der ganzen weiten Welt.
You know, I hope that whoever wrote this episode went out of the studio after writing it, stepped on a Lego, and then got in traffic on the way home. I just really do, because this is just torture. This is cruelty. And there's actually been a lot of setup and foreshadowing to this episode since season 1. They've always mentioned that he has a hard time learning because he's literally a toddler, and, you know, that he's not always the best at tests and just classes in general.
Adieu, Kumpel.
Somebody's detain me!
Seit wir aus dem Knast ausgebrochen sind. Mir fehlt unsere Zelle, T. Ich meine, es war warm, das Essen war gut und es roch nicht die ganze Zeit nach...
Wow! Oh my god, the guys are back again and they escaped jail and they're trying to get money. They definitely haven't done that for every episode they've ever been in. Now listen, I actually really enjoyed the first 2 episodes of them, okay? But now it feels a little bit like overkill. Like, are we gonna have to see these guys a million times? And if you were to ask me which human we should center more, it would definitely not be these 2, okay? Let me just say that. So, yeah, I've never really loved them.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Du hast etwas fallen lassen. Was ist das? Trügen mich meine Augen? Und dann sagte ich, hey Graf, warum spielen Sie sich denn immer so auf? Fletcher?
Oh, okay, I adore this episode. Let's go. Finally a really good episode. Okay, so basically, Stoker loses his diary, of course, go figure, and the director from season 1, remember that guy? What a callback! That guy finds it and thinks that it's like an outline for a series, so low-key, he was willing to plagiarize somebody else's idea if that was what it was. Anyways, he makes a show called Vampire City, and basically, it's just the Temu versions of all of the students, because what's in Stoker's diary was loose descriptions of them, and this is basically his interpretation of what he can infer from those descriptions, and he did pretty good, but it's also, like, really weird. So, obviously, the vampires are seeing this on TV and being like,
wait, is this play about us?
And it's just such a fun episode. I absolutely love it. I just think the plot is so nicely done, and, you know, usually in kids shows when they do this whole plot, it's really weird because they don't usually have an explanation for why there's, like, Temu versions of characters. It just kind of happens, you know? So I'm glad they didn't go that route for them, and they actually went as far to give a reason for why there's just ripoffs of the characters. And, yeah, I don't know. This is just a great episode, one of my favorites of the season. 10 out of 10 for me personally.
Geht völlig in Ordnung. Mir genügt es, eine Woche durch die Gegend zu laufen und meine alten Knochen ein bisschen zu strecken. So, Alter, was geht? Können wir was losmachen in dieser Bruchbude?
Let me tell you about my best friend. He is a skeleton. That's basically this episode summed up, and I love it. It is such a peak episode. One of my favorite episodes of the show. Definitely my favorite Stoker episode. If you're one of those folks who refuses to watch season 4, in the very least, definitely watch this one. This one is really great because it has Stoker character development.
I was never taught what laws there are.
I hate Stoker very much, as you all already know. However, this episode does give him a lot of development that I really appreciate. Basically, there is this pile of bones that he was talking to because
Please don't leave. I have no friends.
he's lonely, he's talking to these bones, they come to life, and only for 7 days, and those 7 days are spent very well by hanging out together, becoming the best of friends, or maybe something more, I don't know if people ship them or not. And basically, you know, they do usual Stoker-coded activities like bullying, scaring people, teasing, pranking, etc., etc. However, Stoker being, well, Stoker, he goes a little too far with it, and does end up saying something very insensitive to his skeleton friend, but good for Mr. Skelly Bones here, he is not going to just let this happen, okay? He does not stand for the slander. After all of this time, 4 seasons of Stoker mistreating people and nobody ever calling him out for it, finally somebody has, and it had to be a pile of bones. I mean, come on now.
Let's go! I'm sick of her!
I simply love this episode because not only is it important for Stoker to finally be put in his place for once, but it's also important for kids to know that if you make an insensitive joke or weren't educated on something that you say, it's not the end of the world. You have to actually atone for what you've done, take accountability, and apologize. But the apology only stands if you're actually going to make a change after the fact. You can't just be like, I'm sorry, and then after that continue to make bad jokes, continue to never learn from your mistakes. And I mean, this could even be applied to half of the YouTubers I've seen. Like, you guys should probably watch this episode too.
Blutwurst eingestellt, denn das ist meine Unterwelt. Oh, geht es Ihnen gut, Sir? Mit Verlaub, Sie sehen etwas...
Listen to that angelic singing from the voice of an angel. The angel's name is Lenny. Anyways, if you guys happen to ship Lenny and Alaric, this episode is for you. Which I know some people consider that to be kind of toxic because it's like master and servant, but I don't think if they ever ended up together, it would really be a toxic situation.
Ich bin kein sehr guter Tänzer, Sir, aber ich kann es versuchen, wenn Sie Ihren Rücken strecken und gerade halten würden.
Finger weg, das habe ich nicht gemeint. Ich habe meine Bewegungen nicht unter Kontrolle.
Verzeihung, was?
Oh yeah, I guess I should explain the plot other than it just being very gay, which I'm really happy about because we don't really see a lot of Alaric and Lenny, just them two specifically together, so that's really great. But anyways, the plot is basically Klot, hey that rhymes. He has a voodoo doll of Alaric and he's playing with it, so that is why Alaric is like flailing around and just doing things that he can't control because he's being controlled by this voodoo doll. And the concept of voodoo dolls has always been really creepy because what do you mean like somebody else is controlling your body without your consent? That's just really freaky and weird and uncomfortable in a lot of different ways. This episode is so fun, and it actually utilizes Pollidori in a sensible and good way, a productive way. So basically, there's these horrifying bugs infesting the castle. They ate all of Lenny's clothes, which, you know, I didn't even realize Lenny's the only character where we really see him, like, shirtless a lot, or, like, just in different outfits. I wonder what that's about. Maybe because he's like the comedic relief. And basically, Pollidori uses the chance to swap out the human exterminator for himself. And then turns out there's also a vampire exterminator. There's like 3 exterminators in one plot. It's kind of crazy, and I love it so much. The vampire exterminator is like this ninja guy, and his design is really cool. And Stoker looks up to him as usual. Stoker just looks up to every buff man in the world, I think, at this point. And yeah, it's a really, really fun episode. I love the idea of this infestation plot. I'm honestly surprised they haven't done it sooner, but I'm glad they're actually doing something, you know, different, because that robbery episode was just very repetitive. Oh, heck nah. I remember gnomes from the Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, and they are never good. Actually, I guess they're considered dwarves according to the subtitles, but I'm more comfortable considering them gnomes, because they're quite literally garden gnomes. This episode is really fun, and honestly, upon first watch, I didn't really care for it for some reason. I don't think I was paying attention, if I'm fully honest with y'all. It has a bunch of Lenny, which, I mean, you already know by now how much I love that, but also, it's just very intense, you know? These gnomes come in acting like they own the place, and they do something to Stoker, and I'm really scared what they did, because he literally says he wants to erase it from his memory. I'm gonna play the clip, and I'm really scared for Stoker. Like, what did they do to him?
Hallo? Klar, Junge, wir wissen alles über Vampire. Die Frage ist doch, weißt du denn etwas über Zwergen? Nö? Hab ich da was verpasst?
Was ist passiert?
Ich möchte nicht darüber sprechen.
They continue to ask him what happened, and he just refuses to answer. Like, what did they do to you, Stoker? Are you okay? And yes, character development for myself. I'm worried about Stoker. But listen, he's still a little boy at the end of the day, and I don't know what these gnomes did, but they're gonna pay for whatever they did. But don't worry, they end up leaving eventually after a long, long road of just...
Toll geholfen. Hallöchen, dünner Vampirmann.
Gristle has made his grand return, and you guys will know from part 1 that I actually didn't really enjoy his original episode. I thought the jokes were just not landing for me personally. It's not my forte of humor, and just in general, the implications felt a little uncomfortable. But in this episode, they fix all of those things, and it's really great. Gristle doesn't look so great in the color palette change, but he was already kind of bright, so maybe that's why. Oh yeah, and in this episode, we see Leechy without his goggles. I just thought I'd mention that because he does look exactly how I assumed him to without them. But basically, the plot of this episode is really great. He has a crush on this female troll. Thank the Lord. I was really worried that they were implying that they were in love in the first episode he appeared in. Because, like, I mean, yeah, we don't know Gristle's age for sure, but it seems like he's an adult, and we know for sure Goth is a child, so I was just really scared that they were implying that. But there's a part at the end where I thought Goth and him were going to get into an argument, and then it actually just ended up being Stoker's fault. I would have loved to see Gothetta actually be aware she's being a little too nice to Gristle sometimes. Now, there's no such thing as being too nice, necessarily, but when he's breaking into classes or disrupting other people, I think it's okay to call him out. You don't have to be mean about it, but you just gotta call him out. And speaking of calling out, Stoker, you're always telling people to wear deodorant and being ableist.
I hate you so much.
Hallo, ich suche einen Job.
Wir haben so viel Arbeit, dass wir jede Menge Jobs vergeben könnten. Du kannst in der Küche anfangen.
Klasse.
Ich hoffe, du magst Knoblauch.
Was?
Spezialität der Woche. Alles mit Knoblauch.
Oh, vielleicht ein anderes Mal.
Man, the last part of season 4 is just picking it up peak after peak. I mean, the middle half must have just been a little mid-slope. Anyways, I absolutely love this episode, and you know why? Because it actually focuses on Sunshine and Oscar's relationship. For once, we haven't seen this in a long time. Like, yes, we've seen Sunshine and Oscar multiple times now, but usually not together, and when they are, it's like a comedic thing, or just not really romantic focused. And I mean, mean, it's definitely not as romantic as, you know, the season 1 episodes, but I'll take what I can get, okay? I don't want to be greedy. So this episode is about Sunshine's birthday. Both Pollidori and Oscar are struggling to figure out what she would want because, well, I mean, she has pretty much everything she could want. She's also a girl that likes everything, and how can you really expect Oscar to get the most beautiful girl in the world a present that she really will love? Now, for Pollidori's sake, I do think it's a little, like, weird. You don't even know what your own granddaughter would want, but I understand it's kind of the same prospect. Like, you just love them so much, what do they even deserve? Like, there's nothing that exists in the world that is beautiful enough for her, right? So, it's a really fun episode where Oscar is going around trying to raise money for the perfect gift, and it's just such a fun adventure. I honestly will go as far as to say it's one of my favorite episodes of the show in general. I just love this plot, and again, it's one of those episodes I recommend you watching even if you're not a fan of season 4. The color change is always going to be distracting, but I think this is probably the most reminiscent of season 1 we're going to get from any of these episodes. Yes, you saw that right. The episode literally starts off with a montage of every time Pollidori has been tortured by the vampires. So this episode is one of those episodes that are so great and I love it so much, but then the ending and the episodes beyond it are what ruin it, but we'll get there later. Let's start off with what it's about. So Pollidori, after having that big realization and montage in his head of all the moments that the vampires beat him and got the better of him, he realized, you know what, man, why am I tormenting myself? Like, I'm literally slowly killing myself. At this point, we need to just stop, okay? I need to retire. I'm 50 years old. I need to start focusing on my granddaughter more. I'm retiring. So yes, this episode is about Pollidori retiring and trying to figure out what does he want his job to be now? What is his true calling that isn't vampire hunting, right? And all of that is so great. Meanwhile, there's this younger, newer, flashier guy who also now wants to hunt the vampires. I mean, they really can't catch a break. The minute Pollidori quits, there's a new guy in town. So this guy is like interviewing them, and I don't know, he really thinks he's the best. He thinks he's the or whatever. Anyways, this guy is trying to take over Pollidori's job, and basically in the end, I'm sure no one's surprised, Pollidori ends up staying a hunter, and yeah, that's kind of my problem with it. I think this episode is so great and makes a lot of sense because it's literally one of the last episodes of the show. I don't know why they didn't just commit to him retiring. Like, literally there's no point in him being a hunter anymore at this point, honestly. So I feel like they should have just kept that he retired. I love the idea of him trying to figure out what his true calling is, because I feel like a lot of people can relate to that once they are either fired or quit their job. And yeah, I love the episode up until the fact that they just reverted back to the original as usual. And honestly, as I was watching it, I knew they were gonna pull that. They already have done this so much with Pollidori. I already knew what was coming, and it still made me upset. And I guess for me, it doesn't really make sense because of the fact that this is literally one of the last episodes of the entire show. Not the season, the entire show. So why not just keep that fact? I feel like, you know, there's some stuff they could play around with in that realm. Especially because we've seen way too much of Pollidori just being useless at this point, right?
No, get those lights off! Zu, Fletcher, du hast es genossen, im Rampenlicht zu stehen.
Ja?
Another peak episode! Let's go! Season 4 for the win. Alright, this episode has a really good moral to it, so listen carefully, children. So, basically, they're at this magic show, and the magician asks for somebody to volunteer to go up into the little box, and of course, Stoker, being the attention seeker he is, he offers to go in, he loves it, the audience loves him, so much so that the magician asks for him to come back multiple times. Eventually, the man starts using his fame so much that he starts exploiting Stoker's fame and popularity within the audience, forcing him and overworking him to come back every single day to do his trick. And eventually, he starts to be suspicious of how Stoker does it, because basically, the trick that is at hand here is him turning into a bat. Yeah, Stoker is low-key trying to get them killed, basically. He decided, well, you know, it's a magic trick, so I can pull it off. They'll think that it's the magician, but the magician's like, well, I know that I didn't do that. So how are you doing that? And basically he invades Stoker's privacy in a way because he lies to him and puts a hole through the back of the box so he can see how Stoker does the trick, and then he obviously figures out that he's a vampire, which I think he had suspicions, but he just wanted to know for sure, like maybe that was a projector or something in there. He wanted to just make sure Stoker wasn't duping him, and yeah, he was right. So this episode I feel like has a lot of good meaning because of the fact, like, first of all, don't trust these circus guys. They're always scam artists. They're always lying. And it also is just really good about, you know, making sure you realize when you're being mistreated in a work environment or overworked or exploited. It's just, there's a lot of layers to why I feel like kids should definitely really watch this and retain the knowledge from it. And honestly, this guy just gives me major vibes. Like, he is just so creepy. He's so weird. I hate him so much. And he's a really good representation of these types of con artists in real life. The fact that he lied to Stoker after already overworking him and then watched how he turned into a bat, like, that just feels so gross to me. I really hate it.
Cousine Batoria! Cousine Gruftine! Wow, du trägst diesen Lappen ja immer noch.
That's right, we've made it, folks. We have made it to the Season 4 episode, the one that every fan of the show has watched, even including the Season 4 haters and doubters. Cousin Batoria. Cousin Batoria is easily the most popular episode from the season and most popular one-time character in the show. And a big factor in this is her design. I personally adore Batoria, especially for her design, considering it was inspired after scene fashion, which is a fashion style that not only I adore, but also wear myself. This fashion is edgy, colorful, and there's just something I've always loved about it since I was really young, but didn't really know anything about subcultures until recently. And the funny part is, Batoria's personality really suits what a lot of scene girls were like in the 2000s. You see, they weren't always the nicest people in school. Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely some shy, innocent folks you'd find, but there were also a lot of mean girls who called you a poser if you didn't follow their strict rules, and they also were usually a little racist too.
So that was my dad. He's kind of black.
But anyways, their decision to make her mean didn't bother me at all because, well, it's pretty accurate, to be honest. I also love this episode because of the fact that Gothetta and Batoria can just swap places since, well, they're cousins, so they look very similar. Now, that doesn't explain why all of the girls have the same face in this series. I never really noticed that until Louisa the Rabbit pointed it out to me, which is so crazy. We're mutuals now. I love their content so much. I've looked up to them for so long, ever since I started watching the show, and now we're like mutuals. That's so awesome. So if you're watching this, which you probably are, shout out to you. I feel really bad for the folks on TikTok who love her design just for her to show up in one episode at the very end of the series, which I guess was also me because she's one of the big reasons why I started watching this show, but I wasn't too mad about it. I fell in love for the show for many other reasons than just her, but for folks who really wanted to watch something with some scene representation, I'm really sorry she's only in one episode at the very end. And you know, I would recommend this episode to people who haven't seen season 4 yet, but let's be for real, they probably already have watched it. But if you haven't and you want to check it out now, it's episode 23 of season 4, which I guess you already know because of the title card.
Auch was Sie, Draufgänger? Ach Gott, doch nicht so direkt! Die Männer heutzutage sind ohne Manieren!
Yep, there was the gag I was talking about. Alright, so this is the second Halloween-specific episode out of the series, and the first one, y'all already know, I adore that episode. It's one of my favorite ones of all time. Now, I love both of these episodes, but between the two, the first one is still my favorite, but this one is really, really good as well. So basically, the students are finally getting old enough to learn how to bite people, so Oxblood decides on Halloween they'll disguise as humans. That way they have an easier chance to bite people without them suspecting anything, because they're just going to think they're innocent trick-or-treaters. Usually, when you're trick-or-treating and there's dangers involved, you're looking at the adults, not the kids. So it's a brilliant plan, and I'm really upset that there's this scene where they just straight up be like, Ashley, you're staying here. And listen, I get it. He can't reach necks. He can't wear a Halloween costume. But it's really direct, man. Can't he still come in some way, like watch or something?
He's just always being left out, and it's making me really frustrated.
This is the shit that gets me mad.
Anyways, so this episode is so fun because obviously they get to go trick-or-treating and be undercover, and it's a Halloween episode. I mean, it's gonna be peak. I don't know what all these additional giggling and grunting sounds were in this scene. I just thought I would add this because I was very confused hearing it the first time. Now, I do have one small nitpick about this episode that I know doesn't really matter, but usually the show is really good with continuity for the most part, so I wanted to point it out. So, we all know that episode where they were pretending to be humans for Pollidori to visit, right? Well, I feel like Oxblood should have dressed up a little bit more, disguised himself more, because he looks exactly like how he did in that episode. But at the end, Pollidori figured out that they were actually vampires. So therefore, if he saw Oxblood again, he would be like, oh my god, you're that vampire that tricked me, right? So yeah, I feel like he could have just easily disguised a little bit more, just a little bit more, because ain't no way he's thinking that these two people are different people. And I know Pollidori's older and maybe doesn't have the best eyesight, but we can't blame that on everything. He seems like he's doing pretty well for himself, and he's not that old. I'm pretty sure somewhere said that he was like 50 or 60. That's not old at all, so...
Yeah, I don't really want to hear that excuse either.
Spüre jetzt Vampire auf. Ich muss nur zusehen, dass ich die richtige Frequenz einstelle.
Wer sagt's denn? Was heißt Frequenz einstellen? Mein Befehl hat den Golem in Gang gesetzt.
Ach, Schnickschnack, es ist mein Hyperfluxkompensator.
Man, it's finally hitting me. This is the second to last episode of the entire series. Like, after we talk about these episodes, it's just over. There's nothing else left to rank. Alright, well, let's just focus on the positives for now, alright? So, this is the last episode where we see Bruno and Papyrus appear, which I'm really happy to see them one last time because, well, I mean, it would have been a long time since we've seen Papyrus. I was kind of scared they forgot about him, honestly. Anyways, this episode is so much fun. Once again, Pollidori and Bruno are just the most hilarious duo in the show. They are fighting constantly over whether it's an alien or something else. I think it's really interesting that Pollidori, over the course of the series, learned more about other creatures than just vampires. He has the most knowledge on vampires besides being able to actually capture them, but he also knows more about golems, goblins, all sorts of creatures, and I think that's really cool because it shows that he genuinely has interest in these monsters, regardless of whether he has good intentions or not with them, and this one is no different. There's this golem that Leechy made to help do orders around the castle, and he made the kind of silly decision to command it to hide from him, so of course it hid way too far away from them and ended up out in the forest where they happened to be alien hunting because Bruno, well, he's convinced there's still aliens out there. Rest in peace, Elvis, we miss you.
Siehst, oder?
Oh nein, ich hätte erst mal mein Hirn einschalten sollen. Nur unser Tinto kann etwas so Großes so schnell verlieren.
I feel like every season has its one character that it really tries to focus more on, and for season 4, I definitely think, without a doubt, it's Leechy, which as a Leechy stan, I really do appreciate, because, you know, a majority of the episodes in this season are dedicated to his inventions. Regardless of whether he himself shows up a lot, his presence is always felt. He's inventing something, it goes wrong, and him being the center of the conflict was really fun to see, because in the earlier seasons, all we really saw was him, like, you know, saying something smart or inventing something, but it wasn't really the main importance of the episode. So I really loved being able to see more focus on him, especially because I feel like he's such an underrated character. Do I think this episode was worthy of being the second to last episode of the entire show? I mean, not really. I mean, yeah, it's funny and it is a good appearance of some characters we haven't seen in a while, but I feel like story-wise, it should have felt a little more epic in some way. I hope I'm making sense here because it is a really good episode, and compared to some of the other season finales we've had, this is definitely a much better choice. But I wouldn't watch this and go, oh yeah, this is definitely feeling like the end of the series now. Like how season 2 ended felt a lot more like that, you know?
Oder wir haben es heute Nacht mit einem ganz anderen Vampirjäger zu tun.
Oder auch mit 3 anderen Vampirjägern.
So yeah, unfortunately you saw that right. The series ends off with Gothetta being kidnapped, and they try really hard to find her, but they never do. And honestly, I don't really know why they chose to end the series off like, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Did I trick you? I mean, probably not the people who have watched the show, but if you haven't seen it, or maybe forgot about this episode, I hope I tricked you. No, this episode is not about that. This episode does have some very weird implications though. So basically, the staff are trying to figure out ways to scare the students into listening to them more, because they've all just become very careless and not actually caring about any of the lessons they're being taught. So they do some like harsh parenting in a way. They pretend to be vampire hunters and low-key are like kidnapping them, putting garlic around them. They're using scare tactics, basically, trying to freak them out into listening and applying the lessons they've learned over all of these seasons and episodes to their advantage to get free from them. And honestly, it's a really good plan, but a very sick and twisted plan at that. It's a very sadistic plan of y'all to pretend you're kidnapping your own students and forcing them, scaring them into submission so they'll actually apply their lessons. But it did work in the end, and I mean, out of all of the episodes they could have chose, this is a pretty good episode to end off the series on. It kind of applies to everything that they've learned over the course of the series. I mean, obviously, I wish that the finale was a little more, like, finale-esque, had more of a finale feeling to it, but again, out of all the episodes, this is definitely not the worst one to choose. I like that it kind of is a throwback to all of the previous episodes with all the different lessons and dangers and things that we as viewers learned about vampires can now be applied to this episode as well, which is really cool. And of course, it ends off with Pollidori doing the same thing that he's been doing from season 1, which is kind of disappointing. There's been a lot of character development for all of them over the series, and this episode doesn't really highlight that at all. But with that said...
That's why he's there, baby! That's why he's the GOAT!
I think the best way to put into words how I feel about how the series ended is this way. Season 4's finale episode feels like a season finale, not a series finale. Does that make sense? It felt like it was very open-ended, which it was, and usually kids shows do that because, you know, if the episodes do well, they'll just do more and more seasons until they just drag it on too long. However, I think what they were planning to do was come out with the movie, and that would have been the proper conclusion to the franchise, because based on all the information we have, the movie was supposed to come out the following year after season 4 was done, and I do think that would have been the best way to end off the franchise officially, you know, and I really wish we got that movie so badly. And you know, I'm not fully against reboots if they're done well and done respectfully, and I think this show has really good reboot potential. However, it's only if they can do it well, and I do think that they would probably forfeit 2D animation for 3D, which I love 3D animation. I think it's beautiful and it's a great medium in its own right. However, 2D animation is also super special, and I feel like a lot more people would be appealed to it if it was animated that way. But anyways, how would I personally end off this series? Well, first of all, for starters, I think season 3 should have had opened with Sunshine already knowing Oscar was a vampire, because after the Moonbeam incident, I am a firm believer she should have known that he was a vampire. I don't think she had to stay Moonbeam. I think she should have just been able to remember what happened as Moonbeam. I think that just would have made the direction of season 3 and 4 a lot more interesting and different, and they could have played around with the idea of Sunshine also having to help Oscar sneak around and not get caught being, you know, his one foot in the human world and the other foot in the vampire world. You know what I mean? And then I also would have made Pollidori retire in the episode where he retires. Maybe I would have done it a little sooner. I don't know. I think that episode placement is good. I just don't get the point of him retiring and then coming back, but only for like 3 more episodes afterwards. Like, just make him retire. And I know it's so the finale could end off with him trying to capture them, but it wasn't even like an epic final plan or anything, so I feel like that's just kind of silly. So I would make it that he retired. Maybe in the finale episode he gives it one last try, like he gets inspired to do one last big final blow, and then that also blows up in his face. And I do think the premise of the episode itself is good for a series finale. The idea that the teachers want to actually apply all of the lessons they've been learning over this school year and actually like see how far they've progressed. I think we should keep all of that. But I do wish that Sunshine and Oscar were involved more. I do wish that, like I said, Pollidori's plan was a little more epic. And just overall, I feel like, you know, it's not a very good reflection on how much these characters have developed, because when I started doing this ranking thing, you know, part 1, I didn't even realize just how much the characters were different in the first 2 seasons, for better and for worse. I feel like Stoker became a lot more tolerable towards the end because of Skelly Bones teaching him a lesson or 2. Oscar became way more confident in himself. He definitely is still scared of blood, but definitely not passing out as often as he used to. And overall, I just feel like everybody has made a lot of good progress. Obviously, Klot has grown up a lot. Ashley is still just as dazzling as ever. And I do wish Ashley was given way more screen time in the show, or just more potential, because he just has so much going for him, and they only use him when it's convenient to either make fun of him or to just not include him at all, and it's like the butt of the joke or whatever, you know? And I also have to say, Gothetta, I absolutely adore her to death. In the first 2 seasons, well, really just the first season, I thought Gothetta was kind of rude and disrespected Oscar a lot, but that was honestly just a microaggression towards him because of the fact that she was jealous he was in love with Sunshine. And I love that they fleshed her out more, gave her more kindness, and overall, she's a great big sister to Klot and all of the other students for that matter. So yeah, overall, I wouldn't change anything about the characters' development. I think they all did a great job on that. It's just, I do wish, because of all the development we got in the last episode, it was really evident. But like I said, if what I think is true in the movie was supposed to be the ending, that would make sense as to why they didn't conclude it in that way, because they weren't 100% sure if they were going to conclude it. So it just makes me wonder, if they planned fully solidly this would be the last season, would it be a different episode, or would they have released it this way anyway? It's just something to think about, and I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts here. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to mention. I mean, I think I covered pretty much everything, and of course Stan Lenny. Anyways, that is officially the end of both part 1 and part 2 of the School for Little Vampires ranking series. I'm really happy that ultimately this video became much bigger than it was ever supposed to be. Originally, I just filmed a silly little ranking. I just put a few episodes in the tier, talked about how I felt about it, and then moved on. But this show deserves so much bigger and better than that. I turned it more into an essay type video, and I'm just so happy I got to talk about the show once again in very long length, both part 1 and part 2, and if you watched both parts all the way through, you are absolutely incredible. My brain can't even calculate the fact that somebody took that much time out of their day to listen to me yap about these episodes and care way too much about a show that came out in the 2000s. Just thank you so much. I really don't know how else to say it other than thank you. I had so much fun making these videos. Editing this part was a little more painful because of the fact that I just wanted it to be out and done with. However, it's also because of the way that I edited it. Usually how I edit my videos is I just edit it alongside the voiceover, but for some silly reason I decided in part 2 I'm gonna do a funny thing and do all the voiceovers first and then go back and have to edit in the clips. It's kind of hard to describe, but trust me, it's very taxing. But either way, I'm so happy that it's finally here, ready for you all to watch, and it's also sad though, like, that's it, there's nothing else to rank or talk about. So this is the final ranking. Let me know if there's anything you would change, or anything that I said that might have been incorrect in the video as well. I'm always making sure that I'm getting called out when I spread misinformation. But with that said, I'm really happy with this tier list. I feel like there's nothing that I could have done better, and if future me looks back at this video and thinks it's inaccurate, well honey, I'm the one that had to sit here and rewatch these episodes like at least 8 times. I doubt your opinion's gonna ever change, and if it does, I seriously don't know how. Even the episodes that I put at the bottom tier, they aren't bad episodes, and I still would watch them. It's just compared to these peak episodes, they just don't really compare, you know? It was so much fun getting to be honest with myself and with you guys on, oh, my doggy. Thank you so much for watching. I had so much fun making this and getting to be honest with you all and just share my thoughts about this show that I'm really passionate about. Cannot thank you enough. And I guess with that said, that is officially the end of this video. Be sure to eat, sleep, and drink as much as you possibly can. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart if you watched all the way to this point. And now time for shoutouts. Bye-bye! Sleeping in coffins, we party all night. And just after sunset, we go for a ride. We may have never seen the sun. Come on, this is one last time we gotta sing this. But hey, we're still having fun. It's so much fun just to be a vampire. It's so much fun just to ride through the night. It's so much fun just to be a vampire. You should run and hide. We're gonna bite. We're gonna bite.